This is a video presentation of the homework helper for 7th grade workbook, Chapter 12, Section 1, Solving Two-Step Equations. Now we're going to continue using all those rules of solving equations that we used with one-step equations, in that we still want to get variables on the left, and we still want to get numbers on the right, and we can still flip the sides when we need to, and we're going to use opposite side, do the opposite. What's going to happen though is when we get that variable on the left side, we're going to see that there's two numbers on the left side. And so we need to know which order to move those numbers over to the other side, because we know that's what needs to happen, because rule 2 is to move the numbers to the right side. The rule is to move the thing that's directly connected to the variable, which will be directly connected with either multiplication or division. Move the thing that's directly connected to the variable last. So, if we take a look at number 1, where we've got 7x plus 8 equals 36, that's already set up beautifully in that the variable is on the left side. But we see we have two numbers on the left side, 7 and 8. And we need to know which one do I move first, the 7 or the 8. Well, again, the thing that's directly connected to the variable goes last. So 7 is directly connected to the variable x by multiplication. So he's going to get the move last, which means 8 is going to move first. Now, as far as moving those two numbers, however, the moving steps still happen in the exact same way. We're still going to use opposite side, do the opposite. So I don't have to sit here and debate how do I actually move them. It's just a matter of which order do I move them. And we've just said that 7 is going to move last because it's directly connected to the variable. So let's jump into this here. Let's make some formal markings on this question before we solve it. Variable x on the left side, that's a good thing. Variables on the left. And number 36 on the right, that's a good thing, because numbers are supposed to be on the right. So now you can see why we're going to move 7 and 8, because they're both numbers and they are on the left, but they belong on the right. Again, we've just got done saying that 7 is going to move last because he's directly connected to the variable, which means 8 is going to move first. Look at the 8. It's got an addition sign in front of it. We know the rule is opposite side, do the opposite. To move something to the opposite side of the equal sign, I have to do the opposite. Since 8's got addition in front of it, the opposite is going to be to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 8 from the left and the right side of the equal sign. This plus 8 minus 8 cancels and leaves me just 7x on the left side. And the right side is now 36 minus 8. And again, when I'm talking about sides, everything is relative to the equal sign. 36 minus 8, that's going to give me 28. So now it says 7x equals 28. And as you can see, now it's just a one-step equation. And we already know how to work with one-step equations. We've been doing that for quite a while. This is a multiplication equation, so you're going to solve it by dividing the 7 out of both sides. This times 7 divided by 7 cancels and leaves me x, which is good, because remember the variable is supposed to be the only thing that's left behind on the left side. And 28 divided by 7 on the right, that's going to give me 4. And so my solution must be 4. We can check it, change x into 4 on the left side, and make sure the left side equals the right side. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 8 is 36. Since the other side says 36, the whole thing checks, and it must be okay. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 2. Number 2 is just a little bit different, and it's the only one that's really different in this section because the number in front of the variable happens to be negative. So we've just got to make sure we apply the rules of negatives correctly here. Negative 3y minus 7 equals 2. So if we go through our rules, we're going to keep the variable on the left, which means the variable y on the left is a good thing, and numbers on the right, so the number 2 on the right is a good thing. The bad things here are negative 3 and 7. Those are both going to have to move. And again, it's just a matter of remembering what order do I move them in. Well, we know that the thing with the variable goes last. So that means in this case, the negative 3 is going to move last because he's directly connected to y, which means 7 is going to have to move first. And now that I know what I'm moving first, let's start moving. 7 is moving first, and again, the rule is opposite side, do the opposite. So since 7 has a subtraction sign in front of it, the opposite is going to be to add. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides of the equal sign. And that's going to give me negative 3y equals 9. The minus 7 plus 7 canceled out. So now I've got negative 3y equals 9. Again, we're back to a one-step equation here. And so I'm going to solve this multiplication question by dividing both sides by negative 3. And when I do that, I have y equals negative 3. And again, we can check it. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. 9 minus 7 is 2. Since the left and the right side both work out to be 2, we know we did this correctly. All right, let's go ahead and go down to the middle section here. As you can see, what's different about the middle section is the middle section questions are all division questions. We're going to go ahead and start with number 10 there. Number 10 is a little bit different. The variable is on the left. It's not first, but it's on the left, so that's okay. So we're going to leave f on the left side there. And numbers on the right, which means negative 1 being on the right side, is also a good thing. So the two things we got to deal with are negative 7 and 2. So let's start with the negative 7. Why am I starting with negative 7? Because remember, the thing that's directly connected to the variable by multiplication or division is going to go last. As you can see, we're taking f and we're dividing it by 2. So 2 is directly connected to the f, which means it has to go last, which would then imply that negative 7 has to go first. So I'm going to move that number over to the other side of the equal sign, and I'm going to do that by adding 7 to both sides. Now some of you might be looking at this and saying, well, wait a minute. Why are we adding? There's adding in the middle there. Well, remember, that's on the f plus 2. If I were to then say subtract 7, this side would be negative 7 minus 7, which is negative 14. It would not be going to 0. And of course, you know in these questions, that's always what happens. If I add 7, negative 7 plus 7 does go to 0, which is correct. That's what's supposed to happen. It would leave behind just f over 2, which is grand. And here's negative 1 plus 7, which is going to go together to make 6. So I've got f over 2 equals 6, and now I'm going to solve what's left there, which is just a simple one-step equation there. And so since it says right now that I'm dividing by 2, and I know I'm going to use opposite side, do the opposite, I'm going to then go ahead and divide both sides by, or multiply both sides by 2. Remember, to show that we're multiplying, we're going to use those giant parentheses. The divide by 2, multiply by 2 cancels and leaves me f. 6 times 2 gives me 12. Let's go ahead and practice a question like that again, and we'll practice that in number 11. 9 plus w over 4 equals negative 5. So the variable w on the left is a good thing, and negative 5, the number being on the right, is a good thing. The thing that's not good about this question is the 9. The 9 is going to have to be relocated here. And also the 4, because the 4 is a number that's on the left and it needs to go to the right. So it's a matter of which one do I move first. Well, remember, the thing that's connected to the variable of multiplication or division goes last. So right now this says that the 4 is connected to the w by division. He's going last, which means 9 is going first. So let's talk about moving the 9. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. Remember, I'm doing the opposite, and what we see happening there is that's going to 0, which is exactly what's supposed to happen. So this is w over 4 equals negative 14. Negative 5 minus 9 is negative 14. And then doing the opposite with the dividing by 4, which is to multiply both sides by 4 here. And when I do that, negative 14 times 4, that's going to give me negative 56.